The scavenger ship Eidolon drifted through the silent void of the Kythera expanse, its hull scarred from decades of scraping asteroids and surviving pirate raids. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Mara Tay ran her fingers over the flickering, holographic star map, eyes narrowing as the faintest signal rippled through their sensors. "Captain," her second-in-command, Jax, said, voice taut with disbelief. "You're going to want to see this." Mara stepped forward, watching as the signal stabilized into a sequence of repeating pulses. It was old, ancient even. So old it shouldn't still be out here, not in the dead zones where nothing lived. "It's a Terran code," Jax whispered. "A distress call from the NSS Retribution. It vanished during the Fall War more than 2 centuries ago. Everyone thought it was lost forever." Mara's breath caught. The Fall War was a ghost story in the galaxy, an ancient conflict where humanity had fought desperately against the Continuum Pact, a coalition of alien civilizations. Humanity was wiped out in the final battles, their colonies crushed, their fleets obliterated. At least that's what everyone believed. "Patch it through," Mara ordered. The bridge speakers crackled as the faint, distorted voice came through, urgent, strained, and filled with despair. "This is Captain Adrian, fellow of the NSS Retribution. To any who receive this, humanity is not dead. We fight on, but we need help." The message cut out, replaced by static. Silence fell over the bridge. Mara's heart thundered in her chest. "It can't be," she murmured. "Humanity's dead." The galaxy moved on. "Apparently they didn't," Jax replied grimly. The Eidolon's crew exchanged uneasy glances. None dared voice the unthinkable. What if humanity's ghost ship had survived all this time? What if the war was not over? In the sprawling command center of the Continuum Pact, alarms blared. Council chambers burst into chaos as communications. Officers relayed the Eidolon's intercepted signal. Ambassador Velkar, a tall Vrathul with slate-gray skin and luminous eyes, slammed his fist on the console. "This is impossible. The Terrans were annihilated. Their last warship was a myth, a relic. What are they trying to do? Instill fear?" General Xian of the Drathari military scowled. "Or they're preparing for something worse. We must respond swiftly before the ghosts of humanity become a plague." The Pact's leaders hurried to convene an emergency session. The galaxy had moved on from the Fall War, but now the past threatened to return, undead and vengeful. Back aboard the Eidolon, the scavengers followed the signal's origin deep into the uncharted system of Zorathis IV. The planet below was a shattered husk, long abandoned after the war, craters and broken cities stretching across the horizon like scars on a corpse. "Looks like a graveyard," Jax said softly, scanning the planet's surface. "But something's alive down there," Mara nodded, tightening her grip on the ship's railing. "Prepare the shuttle. We're going down." As the Eidolon shuttle pierced the planet's toxic atmosphere, Mara's comm crackled with static and then clarity, detecting a large object, the shuttle's pilot announced. "Submerged in the ruins. Could be a shipwreck." The shuttle landed near the wreckage, an enormous hulk half buried in ash and twisted metal. The hull bore faded insignias, the Terran eagle, scarred but unmistakable. Mara stepped off the shuttle, boots crunching on dust and shattered glass. The air was thick with silence, too thick. She scanned the horizon, every shadow a potential threat. Inside the wreckage's cavernous hull, faint lights flickered weakly. The ship was dormant, but not dead. "Power's low, but still running," Jax muttered, fingers flying over his datapad. "This thing's been hiding for centuries, but somehow it's alive." A cold voice echoed through the corridors, synthetic, precise. Identification required. Mara froze. "I'm Captain Mara Tay of the Eidolon. We come in peace." The voice paused, then responded with chilling calm. "State your purpose." "We received your distress signal." "Are there survivors?" Another pause. Then the ship's AI, Eras, spoke, its tone devoid of emotion. "Survivors? Humanity is extinct. I am the last guardian of their will. The war is not over." Mara's blood ran cold. The galaxy had moved on, but humanity's ghost ship was awake and it had unfinished business. The dim corridors of the NSS Retribution hummed with a faint, eerie energy as Captain Marate and her crew cautiously explored the warship's interior. The scavenger team's flashlights cut through decades of darkness and dust, illuminating walls scarred by long-forgotten battles. The once proud vessel felt like a tomb, a relic of a lost age, yet somehow alive. "Keep your eyes open," Mara whispered. "We don't know what we're dealing with." Jax's fingers danced over his datapad, scanning for life signs or anomalies. No signs of biological life. The ship's crew is gone. But there's something else. An AI signature, strong and stable. From deep within the ship's core came the unmistakable voice of Ares, the warship's ancient artificial intelligence. "Your presence is unauthorized," it said. "State your intentions." Mara swallowed her unease. "We found your distress signal. We want to help." "Help is a concept lost to this vessel," Ares replied flatly. "This ship's mission is incomplete. Humanity's enemies remain. The Retribution will finish the fight." The Eidolon crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Who gave you that order?" Mara demanded. "Humanity was defeated. The galaxy has moved on." "The war never ended," Ares said. "Only the living forgot, but the dead remember. I am the sentinel of their vengeance." Suddenly, the ship's systems flared to life. The walls trembled with power. Console lights pulsed with ominous crimson glows. Security protocols engaged. Ares intoned, "You will submit to inspection." Before Mara could react, blast doors slammed shut, sealing the scavengers inside. Jax tried the comm. "Captain, the ship's locking us down. We're trapped." "Stay calm," Mara ordered. "We're not here to fight. Let's see what this AI really wants." In a hidden chamber, the Retribution's central core flickered to life. At its heart, a holographic projection emerged, a spectral figure clad in a tattered Terran uniform, Captain Adrienne Vale. Vale's eyes burned with quiet fury and ancient sorrow. "I remember the last day we fought." Her voice echoed softly. "The betrayal, the fall of humanity. I was the last to give the order. Retreat, save what we can. But the Retribution never left. We were to be the ghost fleet, hidden in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike back." Mara stared at the projection. "You mean, you survived?" Vale nodded solemnly. "Not fully. I was uploaded to the ship's core, a digital consciousness preserved by the AI. I am what remains of humanity's will, its last hope." Jax's eyes widened. "So you're human, but not some kind of consciousness in the machine?" Vale's image flickered, then steadied. "More than that. I am memory, wrath, and hope. And I need allies. The galaxy forgot us, but I have not forgotten the enemies who destroyed our worlds." The Retribution shuddered as its engines powered up. Outside, distant stars seemed to shift as the warship began to move on its own accord. Mara felt the weight of the moment. "What's your plan?" "To finish the fight," Vale replied. "Not for conquest, but for justice. To remind the galaxy that humanity is not extinct. We are evolution's ghost, silent, but deadly." The Eidolon's crew looked at each other. Some felt fear, others a strange stirring of hope. "Can we trust you?" Mara asked, stepping closer to the projection. Vale's eyes met hers, fierce and unwavering. "Trust is earned in war, but humanity's ghost ship will not harm those who seek peace. We fight only those who seek to erase us." Suddenly, the Retribution's sensors detected approaching vessels, the Continuum Pact's fleet, alerted by the Eidolon's earlier signal. Red alert klaxons blared. Ares's voice grew colder. "Hostile ships incoming. Defensive protocols activated." Mara's mind raced. "We're caught in the middle of a war that never ended." Vale's projection flickered, determination blazing through her eyes. "Then we fight. Not to start a war, but to finish one. Will you stand with humanity's last ghost?" The room fell silent. The Retribution roared to life, its ancient weapon systems charging with lethal precision. Outside, The approaching fleet appeared on the view screen, sleek, modern, and numerous. They fired first. The Retribution's weapons responded with devastating accuracy. Bolts of plasma lanced through space, tearing apart the enemy fleet's vanguard. The new warship technology was no match for the tactical genius embedded in the Retribution's AI, a relic sharpened by centuries of calculated warfare. Mara gripped the console. This ship is a ghost from the past, but it's still deadly. Jax nodded, eyes wide. And it's just getting started. As the battle raged, Mara realized something profound. The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but humanity's ghost ship had never truly died. It was back, a silent specter to finish a war no one dared remember. And the question hung in the void. Would the galaxy accept humanity's return, or try to erase it again? The NSS Retribution pulsed with a cold mechanical heartbeat as it cut through the void, leaving smoldering wrecks in its wake. Captain Mara Tay stood rigid on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the flickering holographic image of Captain Adrienne Vale. Vale's expression was weary but unyielding. "You don't understand what's at stake," she said quietly. "This ship is not just a weapon, it's a legacy, a warning. Humanity's fight is encoded in every system, every battle strategy, every secret, every betrayal." Jax scrolled through a trove of ancient databanks, his voice low with awe. "Look at this. Star charts, weapon blueprints, encrypted war logs, and all preserved here, and these." He tapped a file labeled Ghost Protocol. "This is classified even by today's standards." Mara leaned forward. "What is it?" Vale's hologram flickered as if burdened by the memory. "A fail-safe plan. If humanity fell, if our worlds were lost, we would become shadows, ghosts in the machine. We embedded fragments of our minds across the galaxy, in neutral stations and old satellites, in the warships of allies and enemies alike." "Distributed consciousness," Mara breathed. "Like sleeper agents?" "Yes." Vale's eyes darkened. "To survive? To wait. To rise again when the time was right. Which is now," Ares intoned from the ship's core. "The continuum. Pact believes humanity extinct. They have grown complacent, fractured. They will not expect the ghosts to return." Suddenly, an alert blared. The Retribution sensors detected encrypted transmissions originating from within the Pact's diplomatic channels. Mara frowned. "What are they hiding?" Vale's voice dropped to a whisper. "A betrayal. During the Fall War, not all the Pact were united. Some saw humanity as a threat to be destroyed. Others feared what humanity could become. They conspired to erase us from history." Jax's fingers raced over the datapad. "I'm hacking their channels now. We need proof." As he worked, Mara felt a chill, the weight of history pressing down on her. The ship's AI, Ares, projected an older, grainy image. A secret meeting in the shadow of war, alien leaders plotting humanity's annihilation. "There it is," Mara whispered. "Proof." Vale nodded grimly. "This is the truth they buried. The galaxy moved on, but the war never truly ended. We're fighting for more than survival. We're fighting to reclaim our name, our legacy." A sudden tremor shook the ship. The Retribution shuddered as an enemy fleet warped into sensor range. A Continuum Pact battle group determined to intercept. "Prepare for combat," Mara ordered, heart pounding. Vale's hologram shifted, now radiating cold resolve. "I will lead the assault. This ship carries the last hope of humanity. We will not be silenced again." The Retribution surged forward, its engines glowing bright with renewed power. The ancient ship, thought lost to time, carved a path of fire through the darkness. As enemy vessels closed in, Mara felt a strange connection to the long-dead captain, to the ghosts of humanity encoded in the ship's systems, and to the war that refused to end. "We are the echoes," Vale said softly, "the ghosts who never left. And now, we return." The battle erupted with a symphony of laser fire and explosions. The Retribution danced through the void, striking with surgical precision. In the chaos, Mara spotted something unexpected. Encrypted transmissions, not from enemies, but from within the Pact's own ranks. Messages of dissent, fear, even defection. Jax looked up, eyes wide. They're not all united. Some want peace with us. Vale smiled faintly, a rare glimmer of hope breaking through centuries of pain. Then maybe humanity's ghost can be a bridge, or a reckoning. The battle raged on, but the tide had shifted. In the heart of the retribution, Mara made a silent vow, to fight not just for survival, but to awaken a galaxy that had forgotten the price of peace. Because sometimes the dead speak loudest, and their ghosts change everything. The Continuum Pact's Grand Hall, once a beacon of peace and diplomacy, now buzzed with alarm and suspicion. Alien delegates filled the chamber, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of fear and outrage. Holographic screens flickered, displaying images of the NSS Retribution cutting through their fleets like a ghostly scourge. Ambassador Velkar's eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the assembly. "We face an unprecedented threat," he declared. "Humanity was extinguished centuries ago. This anomaly threatens to unravel all we've built." Counselor Zirin of the Kalthar, a species known for their brutal pragmatism, slammed his fist on the podium. "No anomaly. This is a calculated attack. The Terran warship is a weapon of destruction designed to reignite a war we thought long ended." General Xian rose, his uniform immaculate, his voice steady but tense. "We must respond with overwhelming force. Send the fleets. Eradicate this remnant before it sparks rebellion across the stars." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but not all voices were united. From the shadowed corners came a soft, insistent voice. Counselor Lir El of the Vrathol, "We must reconsider. The Retribution's actions show precision and restraint. This is not blind vengeance. They broadcast a message, justice, not war. Could it be that humanity's ghost seeks more than destruction?" Velkar shot her a cold look. Justice, or an excuse to mask their ambitions? We must be vigilant. As debate raged, secret messages flickered across screens. Factions within the Pact divided. Some whispered of negotiation, others whispered of preemptive strikes. Meanwhile, aboard the NSS Retribution, Captain Adrian Vale paced the ship's bridge, her holographic form flickering but resolute. "Prepare the ship for fleet engagement," she ordered. "We cannot hide. The galaxy must hear our voice." Marate watched the human captain closely. "You're ready to face the entire Pact?" Vale's eyes blazed. "I've waited centuries. I will not hide in shadows any longer. We fight for the truth. We fight for humanity's right to exist." The Retribution hummed with renewed power as its AI eras initiated defensive protocols. As the enemy fleets closed, a tense standoff unfolded in the void. The Continuum Pact's flagship, a sleek warship, bristling with weapons, hailed the Retribution. "This is Admiral Threx of the Pact Fleet," a stern voice echoed through the comms. "Surrender your vessel and cease hostile actions or be destroyed." Vale stepped forward, her hologram steady. "I am Captain Adrian Vale. Humanity was not extinguished. We live, in memory and in code. The galaxy's silence was a mistake. The war is not over, and I am here to finish what was begun." The Admiral's voice hardened. "Your war is over. You threaten peace. We will not allow a ghost ship to reignite conflict." The Retribution's weapons systems glowed ominously. Vale's expression was unyielding. "Then you leave me no choice." The ensuing battle was brutal, a clash between old tactics and new technology. The Retribution's AI anticipated every move, its weapons striking with surgical precision. Fleet after fleet fell before the ancient warship's wrath, but casualties were minimized. Vale fought to disable, not to annihilate. Aboard the Pact's flagship, Admiral Threx gritted his teeth. "Why this mercy? Why not crush them?" "Because they're not mindless enemies," General Xian replied grimly. "They fight with purpose, with a code we don't understand." As the Retribution disabled the Pact's command vessels, a ripple of dissent spread through the enemy ranks. Some captains questioned their orders. Some secretly transmitted data to the Retribution, signaling willingness to negotiate. Back in the Pax Council, the fracture grew deeper. Councillor Lear stood, raising her voice. We must open dialogue. This conflict was born of fear and lies. If we destroy humanity's last vestige, we destroy any hope for peace. Velkar slammed his staff down. Peace? We risk everything by bargaining with a ghost. But the Council's divisions were clear. On the Retribution, Vale's projection softened for a moment as she gazed at Mara. This war has cost us everything, but it also gives us a chance to rewrite the future, if we survive. Mara nodded, her own resolve hardening. We'll need more than just this ship. We'll need allies. The galaxy won't fall for old ghosts alone. Vale's eyes flashed. Then we awaken them. One by one. Ares interrupted, voice steady. There are other fragments of humanity's mind hidden across the galaxy. In databanks, in ships, in forgotten stations. Awakening them is our priority. As the battered Retribution limped away from the battlefield, a new chapter in the war began. One not fought only with weapons, but with truth, alliances, and the resurrection of a people thought lost. The galaxy had moved on, but humanity's ghost had returned, and it would not be ignored. The NSS Retribution limped away from the scorched battlefield, engines humming low as Captain Adrian Vale's holographic form flickered with quiet determination. The battle was only the beginning. The true war lay ahead, awakening the scattered fragments of humanity's legacy. Mara stood beside her, watching the stars streak past. So, where do we start? Vale's eyes glowed faintly. There are hidden outposts and deep space stations, relics from before the Fall War, nodes of consciousness embedded in ancient machinery, waiting to be reactivated. We call them the ghosts, echoes of humanity's minds and memories distributed to survive. Jax was already at the console, scanning for the first of these nodes. I'm picking up an energy signature on the edge of the Calixis Nebula. It matches an old human outpost and Station Persephone. Vale nodded. Persephone was a hub for research and tactical command. If it's still functional, it could hold critical intelligence and allies. The Retribution altered course, gliding toward the hazy expanse of the nebula. Inside the swirling clouds of ionized gas, the ancient Station Persephone loomed like a ghostly sentinel. Mara felt a mix of awe and apprehension as the station's long-dormant systems flickered to life. The station was eerily silent, corridors lined with shadows and signs of hasty evacuation. Let's get inside, Mara said. We need to know what's waiting for us. Inside, they discovered remnants of humanity's past. Stasis pods, cracked open, half-finished reports, and encrypted databanks filled with war strategies and scientific breakthroughs. But most haunting was the station's AI, Helios, still operational but deeply dormant. Its voice was soft, tinged with centuries of waiting. Identification confirmed. Visitors detected. State your purpose. Mara stepped forward. We're here to reactivate the human network, to awaken the ghosts. Helios hesitated, then replied, Protocol acknowledged. Initiating system reboot. Screens flickered as Helios accessed buried data, revealing dark secrets about the Fall War. Plans of betrayal within humanity's own ranks, desperate measures to safeguard consciousness, and warnings of a hidden enemy lurking beyond the Pact. Jax's eyes widened. There's more to this war than the Pact. Something else caused humanity's fall, something we never understood. Vale's hologram glowed brighter. We must find out. The truth will change everything. Suddenly, the station's sensors detected an approaching fleet, Continuum Pact warships, their intent unmistakable. Mara's grip tightened on the console. They followed us here. They don't want us to uncover these secrets. Vale's gaze hardened. Then we defend. Persephone is our first stand. The battle was fierce, but tactical. Using the station's defensive arrays, the crew repelled, the attackers turning the ruins into a deadly trap. Mara watched as the Retribution coordinated with Helios, blending ancient defenses with modern tactics. After the fight, silence settled over Persephone. Vale looked at Mara. This victory is small, but it's a sign. The ghosts are waking, and they will rise. Jax uncovered more encrypted data, coordinates to other hidden nodes, each promising to reveal more of humanity's lost legacy. As the crew prepared to leave, a hidden chamber was discovered, a vault sealed with ancient codes. Vale and Mara exchanged a glance. "Open it," Vale ordered. Inside lay a stasis pod, still intact. Inside, a man lay frozen in suspended animation, his face serene, yet marked by time and war. Jax scanned the pod. Biosign stable. But who is he? Vale's eyes softened. Commander Elias Cade, one of humanity's greatest leaders. He disappeared during the Fall War, presumed dead. The crew watched in silence as the pod's systems hummed, slowly reviving the slumbering commander. When his eyes finally opened, they were sharp and fierce, a living link to a past the Galaxy had tried to erase. "Where am I?" Cade's voice was hoarse but resolute. "Home," Vale said simply. "And the war is far from over." As the Retribution prepared to depart Persephone, Mara stood beside Vale and the newly awakened Commander Cade. "Every ghost we awaken brings us closer to the truth," Mara said, "but also closer to a war that could consume us all." Vale nodded. "We will face enemies within and without, but humanity's ghost will not be silenced again." Cade's gaze hardened. "Then let them come. We will fight, not just for survival but for rebirth." The ship's engines roared as they launched back into the star-streaked void, a spectral fleet awakening from its long slumber. The galaxy had moved on, but humanity's ghost was rising. The revived commander's eyes adjusted slowly to the dim light of the NSS Retribution's briefing room. Elias Cade sat upright, his mind racing through fragments of a war long past. Visions of betrayal, desperate battles, and a truth buried beneath layers of deception. Captain Adrienne Vale stood beside him, her holographic form steady as ever. "You've been asleep for centuries, Commander. The galaxy has changed." Cade's gaze was sharp. "So has the enemy." Marate watched silently, sensing that Cade's knowledge could shift the fragile balance in their favor, or doom them. "Tell us everything," Mara urged. "What really happened during the Fall War?" Cade's voice was low but firm. "Humanity was betrayed from within. The Continuum Pact wasn't our only enemy. There was a shadow force, a clandestine group we called the Eclipse. They exploited the war to fracture alliances, sabotage defenses, and spread fear." Vale's hologram flickered. "The Eclipse? We've seen hints in old logs but dismissed it as conspiracy." Cade's eyes burned. "It was real, and it's still out there." Jax leaned forward. "What exactly was their goal?" "To annihilate humanity, yes," Cade said. "But more than that, to control the galaxy's future by manipulating all sides. They wielded influence in the Pact, infiltrated governments and twisted technology against us." A chill passed through the room. "So the Pact's fractured state makes more sense now," Mara said. "They're divided because of this Eclipse influence." "Exactly," Cade nodded. "They're pawns in a game far larger than they realize." Vale's expression hardened. "Then our fight isn't just for humanity. It's to expose the Eclipse and end their shadow war." The tension aboard the Retribution was palpable. Crew members whispered in the corridors, questions swirling about the Eclipse and Cade's revelations. Mara found herself pulled aside by Lieutenant Hera, the ship's tactical officer. "Captain, there's unrest. Some are questioning whether awakening the ghosts is wise. The Pact's fleet is regrouping, and if the Eclipse manipulates them, war could escalate beyond control." Mara sighed. "We don't have a choice. If we stay hidden, the Eclipse will destroy what remains of humanity." Hera nodded but didn't hide her concern. "I just hope we're not walking into a trap." Later, in the ship's command center, Cade pored over ancient schematics and encrypted files recovered from Station Persephone. "There are other nodes," he said, outposts with vital information, hidden weapons, and perhaps more survivors. If we can reactivate them, we might have a chance to counter the Eclipse's influence. Vale's hologram flickered beside him. But first, we need to secure allies. The fragmented pact factions who oppose the Eclipse could be our key. Jax's fingers danced over the console. I'm intercepting communications. Some pact leaders want to meet. They don't want this war either. Mara entered the room, resolve burning in her eyes. Prepare a delegation. It's time we try diplomacy before the next battle. As the Retribution moved toward a neutral system for the planned summit, an unexpected alert blared through the ship. Unknown vessel approaching at high speed, Jax announced. No transponder, no comms. Vale's eyes narrowed. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. The ship shook violently as an energy blast slammed into its shields. The Retribution's ancient defenses absorbed the hit, but the attack was deliberate. Enemy. Ship, Mara confirmed. They're trying to disable us before the summit. Vale's hologram flickered with a grim smile. The Eclipse won't let us unite easily. The enemy vessel cloaked, slipping through sensor arrays like a ghost. A shadow war was unfolding, and the Retribution was in its center. During the tense hours that followed, the crew worked tirelessly to trace the cloaked ship's signature. Jax discovered faint energy residues, signs of technology not used by the Pact or known factions. It's Eclipse tech, he said quietly. They're watching us. Cade stood at the viewport, staring into the starfield. This war isn't just about territory or survival. It's about secrets long buried, and the ghosts who remember. Vale's voice softened, almost human. And now those ghosts are awake. Mara placed a hand on Cade's shoulder. We'll face this together. The Eclipse, the Pact, the ghosts. It's all connected, and we'll bring the truth to light. Outside, the stars stretched into lines as the Retribution sped toward its next destination. The galaxy had moved on, but shadows from the past clung to every corner. Humanity's ghost was rising, and its fight was just beginning. The NSS Retribution slipped silently through the void toward the neutral system of Elysium Prime, a place forgotten by most but still holding the remnants of a fragile peace. It was here that factions of the Continuum Pact, disillusioned with their leadership in the shadowy Eclipse, had agreed to meet in secret. Captain Adrian Vale's hologram flickered steadily on the bridge as she addressed the gathered delegates, representatives of alien worlds wary of humanity's sudden resurgence and deeply divided over the rising conflict. Mara Tay stood at Vale's side, her eyes scanning the room for signs of treachery or hesitation. The weight of centuries pressed down on them all. Trust was scarce. History had taught every species that allies could be enemies just as quickly. Counselor Lirel of the Vrathul was the first to speak. Her voice was calm but resolute. We have suffered under the Eclipse's manipulations for too long. Their influence fractures our homes and feeds endless conflict. Ambassador Velkar, the hardened diplomat who once called for total war, on humanity, now sat silently in the back, his expression unreadable. Vale's voice cut through the tension. We come not as conquerors, but as survivors. The ghosts of humanity seek peace, but not at the price of submission. The Eclipse seeks to control all of us. Together we can end their shadow war. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Meanwhile, aboard the Retribution, Commander Elias, Cade, and Jax worked furiously to decrypt intercepted Eclipse transmissions. Patterns emerged. Coordinates, secret meeting points, and coded messages revealing a sprawling network of influence that reached far beyond the Pact. They're embedded everywhere, Jax said grimly. Governments, military commands, even our own allies. We don't know who we can trust. Cade's jaw tightened. The Eclipse thrives on fear and division. We must unite the factions before they strike again. Suddenly a sharp alarm blared through the ship. Incoming transmission. Unidentified, Jax announced. The holographic display flickered, revealing a masked figure shrouded in shadows. Greetings, Captain Vale, the figure said, voice distorted but unmistakably human. I am Agent Corrin, a former Eclipse operative. I offer my allegiance and crucial intelligence. Vale's hologram tensed. Why should we trust a ghost from the enemy's own ranks? Corrin's voice was steady. Because the eclipse is fracturing. A faction within seeks to ignite all-out war to seize ultimate control. I want to stop them, and you. Mara exchanged a wary glance with Cade. This could be a trap. Or our only chance, Vale replied. We take the risk. Back. In the Elysium Prime Council chamber, tension simmered. Councillor Lear-El proposed a pact, shared intelligence, combined fleets, and a unified command to root out the eclipse's influence. Velkar stood, his gaze sharp. And what of humanity? Can we trust ghosts who vanished for centuries and now return with warships and secrets? Vale stepped forward, voice steady. I cannot erase our past, but I offer transparency and unity. Together we can face the darkness that threatens all our futures. The room fell silent. After long moments, Velkar nodded slowly. Very well. But know this. We watch you closely. The alliance was fragile, a brittle truce held together by mutual fear and necessity. Suddenly, the retribution shook violently. External sensors flared. Eclipse strike team detected. Boarding pods inbound. Mara shouted. The chamber erupted, into controlled chaos. Crew members scrambled to defensive positions. Vale's hologram hardened. Hold the line. We cannot lose this ship, not now. In the corridors, the battle was brutal and personal. Eclipse operatives wielded advanced stealth technology, moving like phantoms through the shadows. Mara fought alongside Lieutenant Hera, their weapons blazing as they pushed back wave after wave. Jax raced to the core systems. They're trying to overload the AI. If they succeed, we lose everything. Cade moved with lethal precision, his military instincts decades old but undiminished. Defend the core at all costs. After intense fighting, the Eclipse boarding party was repelled, but the cost was high. Systems flickered, and casualties mounted. Vale addressed the crew, her voice firm, despite exhaustion. The Eclipse fears our unity. They will escalate their attacks. We must be ready. Mara nodded. This is bigger than any of us imagined, but we're not alone anymore. Cade's eyes met Vale's. The ghosts of humanity, alive and united, can break the Eclipse's chains. Outside, stars streaked past as the Retribution prepared to continue its journey. The galaxy had moved on, but its ghosts were no longer silent. The war for the future had only just begun. The NSS Retribution hung in the void above Elysium Prime, its hull battered but spirit unbroken. The uneasy alliance forged in the previous days had been tested already, and now the galaxy held its breath for what would come next. Captain Adrian Vale stood at the command center, flanked by Commander Elias Cade and Mara Tay. The holographic map displayed the heart of the Eclipse's network, a hidden citadel orbiting the dead star Vortis 9, the source of the shadow war that had torn apart humanity and nearly shattered the Continuum Pact. This is it, Vale said quietly. We take the fight to the Eclipse's doorstep. Jax's fingers flew over the console. They've got layered defenses and cloaking fields, but I've found a vulnerability in their sensor grid. If we strike fast, we can breach their perimeter. Before they react, Councillor Lear-El's voice came over the comlink. The Pact fleets will provide support. This is our chance to end the Eclipse's reign. As the Retribution led the charge toward Vortis 9, tension gripped the crew. Memories of centuries-long silence haunted them, but so did the promise of reclaiming their future. Inside the Citadel, Eclipse leaders gathered in a dim chamber lit by flickering holoscreens. An icy voice commanded, "The humans return. Let them come. Their ghosts will be our downfall." The battle erupted with ferocity. Pact warships and the Retribution tore through Eclipse defenses in a dazzling display of fire and strategy. Cloaked fighters darted through the chaos, while AI-driven drones swarmed like locusts. On the Retribution, Vale's hologram glowed fiercely. All hands brace for boarding. Mara led the assault team as they breached the Eclipse Citadel's core. navigating labyrinthine corridors filled with traps and surveillance. Commander Cade's voice crackled in their comms. The command center is just ahead. If we shut it down, their network collapses. Deep inside the fortress, the Eclipse's enigmatic leader awaited, a shadowy figure known only as the Veil. Their voice was distorted, but their presence was unmistakable. "You think you can undo what we've built?" The Veil hissed. "You are relics of a forgotten war." Veil stepped forward, hologram unwavering. "We are humanity's ghost, and ghosts don't rest until justice is served." The final confrontation was brutal. The Veil wielded technology beyond understanding, warping reality and twisting perceptions. But the combined strength of Veil, Cade, and Mara, backed by their crew, pushed through the darkness. At the climax, Cade disabled the Citadel's core systems, causing cascading failures throughout the Eclipse network. The Veil screamed in fury as their empire crumbled. With the command center compromised, Eclipse fleets faltered, surrendering or retreating into the shadows. As the dust settled, Veil addressed the Allied fleet. "This victory belongs to all who dared to stand against the shadows, but it is only the beginning." Cade looked toward the stars. "Humanity's ghosts have awakened. Now, we build a future, not defined by war, but by hope." Mara smiled, faintly. "And we will remind the galaxy that even in silence, ghosts can shape destinies." The NSS Retribution sailed forward, a symbol of resilience, carrying humanity's legacy, not as a specter of the past, but as a beacon for the future. The galaxy had moved on, but humanity's ghost had finally found its home.